Okay. Good late AM, everyone. Michael Venezia, TradeGate Hub, TradeView Markets. Let's go into TradeGate Hub. You know the process by now. If not, let's go to the main page. It's Friday, Friday around 11 a.m. A little bit after 11 a.m. This was tactical sentiment going into today. Okay. As I had said yesterday morning, tactical sentiment is a tool that I post. It's a tool that I pay for. I get it from somebody. It's not my tool. Not that you should. I mean, if it was my tool, it still should have a lot of credibility. But this is not my tool. I pay good money for this site in order to get this data, and in order to break it down and disseminate, and to give it to you and how to interpret it accurately. So once again, yesterday morning, we came off extremely oversold conditions. The market about 6, 7 a.m. was opening precipitously lower. The market, the futures were about down 24, 25 handles. I believe the NASDAQ futures were down triple digit handles. So going back from March to May, you would say that it's opening down in the green right here. So what wound up happening, this is where the NASDAQ sentiment was basically the same as here. This is the overall tactical sentiment in the market, keeping in fact that, you know, the banks, the financials, and the commodity stocks, and even the consumer staples have been very strong. Actually, it's been holding up the indices. So that's where we came on an overall sentiment. Somebody keeps posting. This is the NASDAQ. This was the NASDAQ sentiment. Right down here. So the market had a nice rally and it had a nice bounce yesterday. So where did we come in this morning? Okay, here we are. Good morning. Always look at this recap from Michael Santoli, who gives a great information, about what's going on in the market and breaks it down what happened the previous day. It's something you got to listen to. I don't make a move without it. So listen to Mike Santoli's recap of what happened that day, and it'll give you a basic. It'll re-edify or give you basic knowledge of where we stand at the close yesterday and going into today. Okay, this is where we stand. We had a nice bounce in the NASDAQ. The market was up 2-3%. Come on, across the board, and that's where we started the day. Now we're up 47 handles, 200 on the market right here. The NASDAQ's up 200 handles, up a percent and a half. So I would say, guessing on the sentiment, we are probably around right here. So going into a Friday, certainly I think that people will be wanting taking profits. But once again, when I go back to the screen and I'll go down further with the information I posted, this is still rotational. The market yesterday wasn't all in the green, and the market today, it wasn't all in the red. The market today isn't all in the green, as I'll show you in a second. But after yesterday's pullback, the bears came in a lot. They covered, which was bullish right here. When the market, the sentiment is the NAIM sentiment is very high, which is basically investor sentiment. You know, that's what you have a little bit of danger. So with yesterday's the pullback, it wiped out a lot of the bulls, and the bears covered their shorts, and here we are down here. And by no surprise, this is the average. No surprise, we bounced as well. So I did post into this in the morning. Bull bear indicator going into the weekend is going to be a little bit higher, so we have to edge on caution. It doesn't mean we're going to start shorting the market. It means we might take some profits on our longs, or maybe buy some protection. I won't use the word VIX, but you can certainly use a couple of other financial instruments to do that. If not, I can point some out on TGH. Okay, the economic numbers. Good morning to you, Coach. Great webinar. Yesterday's movers with range and volume, I posted every day. This is what we do. This is making it easier for you. AMC. I have this written down as the #1 stock I'm going to talk about. It happened to follow through today, to no surprise. So the stock that's $12 is up 23% and has a 17% range on 290 million shares. That's more than Apple and Microsoft combined. That tells you have to be in it. Piton used to be obviously a lot more expensive at 150, 160. Still at $95 when it has a 6% range, 28 million shares. That's incredible how thick that stock is. Express, that was part of the Wall Street Bets pop. GameStop, part of the Wall Street Bets stop. KOS, part of Wall Street Bets. They all moved in tandem yesterday. Nerve, I'm also long the position. I'll talk about that in a second. I'll have to write that down. Yeti, follow through. I'll write that down because I want to talk about that. It's not really the particular symbol or stock in Yeti. It's about how a stock reacted to earnings, how it closed, and how it continued to follow the relative strength and still break a new year high. So DXC Technology, those are the stocks with good range and volume. I post them every morning. I talk about most. Here on the downside, NIO. Let's talk about this. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I have to now. Okay, 113 million shares. Was down $2.50, 7% range. That's number one. Forget about the EDU and Mara and Wish, which I actually am long calls this morning. I'll show you that one as well, Wish. We have a lot of charts to go over. Okay, but let's use NIO. I actually bought that in the pre-market when the futures were down big. And then when the market had a rally, which it did pre-market to unchanged, I sold it to where it was up $1, and I thought it might be a poor sale. I'm going to go to the chart in a second, but it wasn't because it wound up reversing and going down too. Okay, Jim Cramer. I'm not going to disrespect him and call him Joe Sixpack, but he is the voice of reason, and a lot of people are going to him, myself included. So he says, go listen to the DoorDash call, credible people. So what do? I know DoorDash had earnings. I write it down. I know it has good range. I know it's going to have volume, and I know it's going to be active. So I might trade it. I might not trade it, but that's part of my plan this morning. Okay, pre-movers, my scanners. FSR number one had news. Plug. Okay, there we go. Plug Power. That's on my list to talk about. I'm going to talk about Plug. No other major stocks. I mean, a lot of them were up maybe 4 to 5% pre-market, but certainly Fisker and Plug up 12% on a million shares, something you got to keep an eye on. The losers, nothing really sexy for lack of a better term. Disney, you know what? Disney, I keep an eye on because I'm not a boomer, but I'm a Generation Xers. But, you know, Disney's part of the Dow. You know what I mean? It's an antiquated index for many, but you know, I grew up with it. You know, it would have a decent range. If it was, if it was an $80 stock, I might trade it more aggressively. But, you know, I'll watch that as a macro view for the market, Disney. But in the old days, that would have been a good. In the old days, Disney being down $7, no matter what happened, would have moved the market. Now it's an asterisk. It is. Okay, so I posted the pre-market movers. Note, I noted what the Plug, Fisker, and Mara. Some upgrades, Goldman upgraded Snowflake to buy. That told me that after all these growth stocks have been hammered, and they have been hammered, that Goldman stepping up and saying that this stock is a buy was something I had to keep an eye on, that maybe that would continue through the rest of the sector. GROG, a couple of upgrades. Oh, there you go. There is Yeti. Yeti price target raise. Eye on how Disney reacts. Coin, disappointing. Again, I gave you another example of how I'm using my queries. I have several of them, and this might seem busy to you. It's one of the louder ones, for lack of a better term. So I don't want to scare anybody away, if you will. I know how to break down the information and questions. Naturally, I'll be more than happy to answer, but I will make this a little simpler. But these are the biggest gainers and with range. GameStop, SI, Clack, Home Depot is having $10 moves per a day. Piton finished near the high yesterday. That was a stock you could have taken a nice long on. It worked. SE now. So the big poppers, relative volume leaders. Any stock with 200% relative volume, IHT. Okay. So when I see a stock that has 100% relative volume, and by the way, the only reason why IHT is 100% is because it's had 500% the past week. So it's actually starting to wind down a little bit, or it's skewed because of how much it did, but that's something I have my eye on. So I gave you a couple of queries, and I update these queries throughout the day, but I'm not going to give too many because I don't want to inundate everybody with a lot of information. I'm more interested about getting in this process in the mornings so everybody can develop a plan. It might not be a similar plan, but it's going to be a plan that you're going to either go one way or the other, and you'll know what to do by the time the market opens. Okay. We're back with a plan before the open. Good, feel free to ask. There's Timothy. Having a nice day today. No surprise. That's why the boss is the boss. Good job, Tim. Next. Okay. Would you fade the rotation in tech today? The answer was no to that one, Arthur, in hindsight. So stocks I'm looking for, and there's one. PLT, we have a request. Okay. PLT, let's go over a chart, a request from G. Dory. Thanks, G. Dory. Okay. If you want to see what stocks are active, always go to the stocks page. We give it to you right here. New York stocks. Let's go to top US gainers, percent change, judge the volume, and we give it to you right there. Dillard's. Watch this one. That's why I'm long Macy's, by the way. Dillard's. It's not for the faint of heart. Okay. So this is the process I go through. Always follow the Twitter page. I have a personal Twitter feed. Not to be redundant that I follow it as quality, not quantity. One guy I follow right here, great for option flow that I post. Obviously, these in about 8 minutes ago, we're a little bit overbought here, so I keep an eye on that. But I look for option flow. Is STX Bull Flow. He's just one of the guys I use. I also use dark pool charts to show what stocks are being bought, or Airbnb. There you go. Stocks being bought in the dark pool as opposed to what it's doing relatively. So I try to relate all this information, and then based upon the questions and my positions and my other peers that are going to be in here on a very active basis, we go from there. So let me go to a couple of charts like I said before, and let's go over maybe a little bit of a plan for later today. There you go. Under Armour. Note this one before I leave. I'm going to write this down. I've seen bands of sweep come in several times this year. Under Armour calls are flying off the shelf. So what I do is I write this down, and yes, I write things down. I go UA calls predominantly going into May and June, and I write down the date and I write down the price of Under Armour. And then I go from there. If it gets active, then I'm in Under Armour. But it's no surprise considering that Yeti and Macy's and Dillard's department stores are strong today. So let's go back to a couple of charts here. Okay, futures are breaking high, I see. Let's make sure I'm sharing the proper screen. It's a process too, so everybody can appreciate the patience. Okay, I had PLT as a request. I know it had earnings yesterday. Ooh, well, this morning. All right, PLT, they gave you an answer right here. All right. PLT doesn't normally trade a lot of volume. Normally trades 531,000 shares a day. Okay. So we'll keep in mind that even in 2 million, when it's trading 2 million shares and it's down 20% and it has a decent range, you're going to have to understand this might be a day only trade, and then it might set the trend. If you see here, let me take off this grid here. Right here, this big volume day, it had the same type of range. It went from 24 to 19 on news probably. And then you know what? It kind of trickled in and trickled in. Same thing here, huge range from 50 to 38. But after that, it went from 41 to 43. It didn't really have any oomph after it. You know what I mean? When I see volume and a trade like this, in order for me to really want to play it, I don't want to see it had one big day and everything die down. Here's one big day and everything. I mean, I want it to flow for 2 or 3 days, because if I'm wrong in this trade, if there's volume there, it's going to be less forgiving and it's going to give me more outs. Now, what do I do today? Obviously, the 200-day is the most important moving average out there, arguably. So if I was to play it, it wouldn't be something normally I would have concentrated on. The 200-day, as you can see on the blue in the middle of my screen, is 27.71. So it broke the 200-day, and once it based at 27.71, no, this is not in play. No, it's, you know what? It has a range of 30 to 29. I think the move has been made. So that's what I'm going to say about PLT. A long-term play. It's in an uptrend. I know it's a decent stock. I know it's also been helped by the COVID crisis. I think they make the headphones and something like. They're a headphone maker, I believe. Yeah, it's been a bullish trend. You want to take a stab? It's not for me. And what we're going to do is we're going to say next. Okay, I wanted to talk about AMC because why? AMC yesterday was the number one stock. And I want to say why and how I played it. Don't get me wrong. AMC. Okay. That's a weekly. We're not interested. All right. First of all, this was an easy trade. And I don't mean to say that in an egregious manner, in a cocky manner. It's still going to be an easy trade now that I look at it. Stocks are long. So AMC is a stay-at-home stock. It's a Wall Street bet stock. The market's been coming down nicely. It's been above all the moving averages, and it's been having a little bit on the bottom right, a little bit of sneaky volume. So as a person who watched this, and I do, you could see right, I'll take off this thing here. There's a gap right here. This is where I played AMC. I'm watching AMC. Where it should have been traded right here. What's this price? I got to go back to the grid. 12.18. Okay, so we got to watch it. And by the way, AMC yesterday had the volume. I don't care what this symbol was. It could have been QQQ. It had the volume. As of 11 o'clock yesterday, AMC had 100% volume. So I don't care what the symbol was. You got to be in it. So here we go from 1067. This was our buy price, 1214. Go back to the chart. We liked it at 1214. That's the triple breakout, if you will, above the gap. So at 1214, it based. You see, it wanted to pop here. Probably hit some high stops. It based and based and based. And this was yesterday afternoon from 1234. It finished at 1417. And you know what? It's going higher. Although the RSI is what? Bottom left-hand corner, 72. How's the rest of them doing? GME, taking a little bit of rest. But AMC is the best of breed right now. You still have to be in it, trading 100 million shares a day. Plantronics, design, manufactures, and sells integrated communicator and solutions. Plantronics, I know it. Okay. Cameras, speaker, yeah, right here. This is right. Cameras, speakers, microphones, designed to work with. Yeah. Thank you, G. Dory, for the information. When I was a stockbroker 30 years ago, it felt like 30 years ago, I had one of those headphones, the Plantronic headphones. You know what I mean, with that styrofoam thing on the end of it. That's where I knew it from. But by the way, thank you for that information. Always like to learn more. All right, so AMC probably going higher. You might have to be in it. Stock to watch. PBR and embarrassed about. PBR. Okay. There's no doubt that oil has been the hottest out there. We're going back to our best of breed EOG, aren't we? Hanging in there. Had a couple of, hanging in there, still above all moving averages. A little scary from 86 to 78, but held its ground and still holding its ground. But PBR, considering I've been watching it. It's not sexy. It's not a barn burner, but it's something you could buy a good amount of and leave a nice trailing stop in, and you'll turn back and you'll be up a nice percentage. So PBR, considering how oil was, I wanted to take it long. It had earnings. You know what? I wish it had a little bit more of a range, but I think it's under-owned. And PBR, I know this is we have a multinational crowd here. I mean, I could give out sexier stocks. Over 10, it's okay. I still might do it PBR. That's what I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about plug. Okay, plug out the news this morning that their financial statements were better. Opened up $2.50, $3, sat there. You know what? This is 24.34 to 25.30. The right here is the open. I wish it would listen. It's got to rest a little bit. It's still. I wish plug acted better. I still did. I don't think it's a long. I think the move was made in plug. You want to buy for the long term because you believe in the financial statements and they re-edified it. Fine. The move is made. I'm going to watch plug as a gauge for the other stocks, not to take plug in general. Hottest stock out there. IHT. It's on every one of our scans. Jesus. The stock went from two. My Lord. Let's look at the week chart. What is this thing going to do? I don't know. I mean, it has this ceiling here. It kind of has this channel from 5 to 8, but that's a hell of a channel. Where's the RSI? RSI still up. IHT, it's a flag. You trade between the range. I missed it. I'm not going to lie. Dillard's, stock of the day. Huge short interest. Huge. That's why I bought Macy's today. Came out with numbers. As you see, this was a Wall Street bet stock too. They took it from 52 to 128. Actually, now it's up on Credible News. It's a family-owned department store. The move is made, but I looked at that for another gauge of how Macy's would do. Kohl's. I mean, Dillard's is a department store, so you go after Kohl's. Kohl's department store. Kohl's. You didn't want to chase it once it settled. 56. Once it opened at 57, 57 to 60. I want to be involved in this. What are the rest of it? Let's talk about Yeti, an earnings play. And by the way, I said it's an expensive stock. It's not really that great of a trading stock, but I wanted to make an example of how a stock that has been strong, reported earnings, bounced off key technical indicators. And I always say how a stock closes is more important than how it opens. The smart money comes in late. I don't want to say the rookie money, but the speculative money comes in a little bit of early, and then everybody settles out and the big boys settle down at the end. So Yeti, this was yesterday, had earnings. They tried to sell it off in the morning at 78, bounced right off the 50-day, had a good close, and was strong again today on several upgrades. And you know what? Another year high is not, I'm sure, not out of the cards. Let me go what else I have written down here. Let's go back to the screen. Listen, the VIX, what a move. All right. I mean, that's not that clear of a chart. Now the VIX, every time, see, this is the play. Let me go to relative strength. I'm not saying the top ticket, it's an indicator. Every time the VIX on the RSI got to this level, let me take this thing off. It pulled back. See, this was where it was yesterday, 75. Right there, pull back, right here, 75. Pull back, right here. Pull back, 75 RSI. Pull back. So, I mean, that's clear as it is. I'm not saying trade the VIX. It was a good position to take a stab at some longs and lighten up on some shorts. That's all. So, you know what? I don't know where we're going to go the rest of the day. What do I do? What's going to be this is going to be my process. I'm going to obviously be in the room. I am going to look at my stock page. I'm going to look at the stocks that are NASDAQ stocks, top gainers, losers, not most active. I'm going to go into my Twitter feed and I'm going to follow my general universe. And then I'm going to go to my proprietary indicators that that I showed you before that are on my other screen to the left. Or for you that want your own indicators, go to bar chart. Well, I mean, after you use our indicators, but go to the bar chart, go to range change, go to volume leaders, go to range change, go to what I did yesterday. Here's the most volume you can have, the most volume for the day. AMC, there it is again, range. EDU, Carnival, squeezing. DraftKings, I had it overnight and I sold it a little bit on the early side, but I'm okay with it. Macy's, there we go, along it. So this is stocks with Fitch had earnings, 8 million shares on 14% range. So I'm going to go through. This is something you could use as I said before, I can't give everything away. I'm going to have proprietary indicators based upon the critical mass in the audience on what the room likes. So bottom line is stay tuned to TradeGate Hub to the rest of the day. We'll be posting, there's a little bit of fear missing out coming out, FOMO, but smart guys take the profits, add to winning positions and take off the losing positions. So tune into TradeGate Hub from this afternoon. It's a Friday, unfortunately, but we'll be here till the close as we always are. So trade well and have a good day.